to the final score with Stevie Fly.
What's up, guys? Final score. We're here on a Wednesday night. Sorry, guys, couldn't do Tuesday night last night. Had some stuff going on and just couldn't get it done. But hope you guys are having a good day today. Weekend was first weekend without football, guys, and you know how huge of a football fan I am. And but I worked. I worked all weekend. I'm just getting off 19 days in a row. Um, and that was not fun. But my first day off was Monday. But Sunday, you had a big event in sports world. You had the Daytona 500, which we'll get into that in a few minutes. But just no football, guys. I'm ready for. I'll take whatever they call it now, the UFL, the USFL, whatever it is. I'll take it right now. Um, I'll take any kind of football right now. You see what I've got on in the well, you can't see it's kind of a glare about there, but an old game from 1978, Pittsburgh Steelers with the steel curtain and San Francisco 49ers, Monday Night Football, Howard Cosell, Dandy Don Meredith, and Frank Gifford doing Monday Night Football. But yeah, so I've been watching a lot of old games, which I do watch a lot of old games anyway. But um, looking at there is some football news. Um, the Dolphins making a lot of moves. First, they let go of Bradley Chubb, their star defensive end, and then I don't know how much of a big surprise this was Tyreek Hill. They cut him. So clearing room. Where do these guys end up at? I know um, Tyreek. Of course, you think first things that you think of is going back to Kansas City, reunion with Mahomes, and there. I think it was what's his name, Chris Martin, made a post on social media saying it's time. So Tyreek is coming off an injury. I mean, there's a few teams that are in there. Of course, the odds-on favorite, if you're making a bet on it, are the Chiefs, followed by the Bills, Ravens, Raiders, Broncos, and Chargers. But he's going to want to go to a winner. He's going to want to go to a contender. So I would think it would be. What about him with the Bills, with Josh Allen? Don't want to see him go to the Ravens. No. Raiders, no, they're not a contender. Broncos, yeah, that's a contender. Um, Chargers could be a contender. But as far as Chubb goes, I mean, he could end up anywhere. Um, but I'm just wondering who's next. Um, they're already talking about trying to work out a trade for Minka, who they just acquired from the Steelers, reacquired from the Steelers after a few years in Pittsburgh, after they traded him for a first-round pick to Pittsburgh, which I did not like seeing. I did not like seeing Minka go. Um, I was not a fan of that. So, Tyreek only played 4 games because he dislocated his knee, tore multiple ligaments, including his ACL at the end of September. So how healthy will he be at the start of the season? Will he be ready to go when the season starts? He's got the speed, but what kind of shape will he be in by that time? How does that affect how people want to sign him, the people that want to sign him? I don't know. I think he's still got some gas in the tank definitely. So it just depends. I know I've been listening to a lot of Steelers podcasts, and they were, you know, one of them I listened to was James Harrison and Joe Hayden. James Harrison was like, "No, I don't think it'll happen. I don't even think it's a chance of that happening." So, but I'm not. I don't. I don't know about that either. Dave, appreciate the like, bud. Dave Richmond. Um, Seahawks. This this is something that they've talked about your MVP. Now, the Seahawks, for one thing, the Seahawks are in the process of being sold. They've already got the lawyers and the agencies lined up to make a sale. So the Seahawks, I know my buddy Kyle Barber is saying me and him are going to buy them, and we're going to turn it. We're going to put the team in Running Rapids River Rats. I think that's what he said to call him. But Paul Allen's estate has already set that up. So now it's unlikely that they're going to tag. Kenneth Walker III, the Super Bowl MVP, is a free agent. And there's a lot of talk about, well, if they can't work something out with him, they'll put the franchise tag on him. They said Seahawks, it's Adam Schefter is saying they are unlikely to franchise or transition tag him. They are prioritizing re-signing other key pending free agents and extending Jackson Smith-Njigba. So you remember all these Super Bowl MVPs that didn't play another down or didn't play the next season with their team? Larry Brown, who should thank Neil O'Donnell every day for every penny he got, because Neil O'Donnell has got an oil well in Dallas, Texas, somewhere that Jerry Jones gave him for throwing that game in Super Bowl 30. Larry Brown is a free agent. He ends up going with the Raiders, and never hear Larry Brown again. Never hear his name again. Desmond Howard ends Super Bowl MVP with the Packers in 1996. I want to say he ends up going to the Raiders as well. Boy, Raiders, you sure made some good decisions with Super Bowl MVPs up there. I can't remember. Was his name Dwight Smith from the Buccaneers? Leaves Tampa Bay after getting the Super Bowl MVP and goes to Arizona. And I mean, I know the money. The money is a thing, guys. It's a business. But, and I think the Raiders were a good team then. In both those instances with Larry Brown and with Desmond Howard. But go to the Cardinals when you're on one of the best defenses in the NFL with Tampa Bay. Kind of makes you wonder, like Neil O'Donnell. Speaking of Neil O'Donnell, after that Super Bowl where he threw the game against Dallas, he goes and signs with the New York Jets. Lucrative deal at the time. I forget the amount. Rich Kotite became the head coach of the Jets. Two terrible moves by the Jets. And, no surprise with the Jets. The Jets keep on making those terrible moves. When was the last time the Jets had a good team, guys? Was that when Sanchez was quarterback and they made a run? Actually, they played the Steelers in the AFC Championship game in 2011. Santonio Holmes was there. Tomlinson was there. Boy, did they go. I mean, they've really become a laughingstock here lately. But, yeah, Walker, I mean, I don't know, guys. You still got Zach Charbonnet coming back next year off an injury. They were kind of like the 1-2 punch. And now, I don't know. I mean, they split carries. It was by committee. So I don't know. I don't know if you can split these guys up and still have because that took a lot of pressure off Sam Darnold. Walker put up over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Charbonnet put 730 yards and 12 touchdowns. So he was what the fantasy football people talk about, the vulture. He would take all the touchdowns. But I don't know, guys. I think Seattle was making a mistake with not even trying to re-sign him or not offering him anything. That, I mean, I can't say I would blame Walker for going elsewhere now. You've already told me that you don't think enough of me after I was pretty much, and I'll say this: he was the offense. He was what got the first downs at key points of the game. Darnold didn't have a great game. Darnold had a game manager's game. He didn't light it up like he did the 2 playoff games before that. So he was the key part of that offense in Super Bowl 60. So you're going to let him go now. And I know they can pick up somebody at free agency, but I don't know. I just don't like this move by Seattle. If I was a Seattle fan, I wouldn't like this. Chiefs are reworking Pat Mahomes' contract to create cap space. The Kansas City Chiefs converted $54.45 million of his 2026 base salary to a signing bonus to create $43.56 million cap room. Chiefs enter the offseason. They're still $11 million over the cap now. Jeez, but now he will have a cap hit of over $85 million in 2027. Wow. It's just crazy. I'm doing a lot of research for something I want to do on the podcast, and I've talked about it, going through week by week the 1980 season and season the off season before the draft and all that, and seeing some of the pay, that people were getting back then compared to now. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. Keeping with the football, and this may be a shorter episode than usual. We may talk a little on the fly music or something like that tonight too, to try to keep up the time. Joey Porter Sr., former Pittsburgh Steeler, Super Bowl champion in 2005, longtime Steeler. A couple weeks ago goes on Cam Hayward for current Pittsburgh Steelers podcast and makes some comments about Ben Roethlisberger, former Steeler quarterback, legendary Steeler quarterback, and about James Harrison, former Steelers linebacker, defensive player of the year for a year, and had probably one of the greatest plays in Super Bowl history with a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown against the Cardinals in Super Bowl 43. Porter pretty much was talking trash about them for comments they made about Mike Tomlin's coaching. And which, all Ben said was might be time for him to move on. Nothing derogatory there. Now, Harrison came off a lot. He doesn't hold anything back. Harrison was like, he's not a Hall of Fame coach. He's not a great coach like everybody says he is. So Porter comes on talking about Ben wasn't a great teammate. He was a hole. There's a lot of things that they don't talk about that they could talk about with Ben. And I mean, he's going back to started Ben's career. He had some legal troubles, some sexual assault charges that uh, were dismissed, I guess what you call it. Um, and he said he wasn't a good teammate. He was not a good teammate. And he said Harrison owes his career to Tomlin. He would have been Defensive Player of the Year if it wasn't for Tomlin. It wasn't Cowher. Cowher cut him 3 times, but Cowher gave him the chance to be back on the team. But he was just, you know, I don't know. It just seemed like Joey Porter Sr. wanted to get clicks, as some people would say. He wanted to get clicks. He wanted to be out there. And the thing is, he was talking about you broke the code. He said you broke the code talking about Tomlin. They didn't really say anything about Tomlin that other people haven't said. It was time to move on. I'll say that. Tomlin was a good coach, but his time the last season when he didn't win a playoff game in 6 or 7 seasons, and he was just barely getting over 500 every year. I mean, that's great that you're doing that, but you're not making any progress. It was time for him to go. And of course, Tomlin and Harrison didn't always get along. I mean, Tomlin let Harrison go, said he was sleeping in the meetings and stuff like that. I mean, stuff like that. But here's my thing. Porter was only a teammate of Ben's for 3 years. And they won a Super Bowl together. But how does Porter know what kind of teammate Ben was when he's only there for 3 years? The start of Ben's career. He had a lot more career to go after Porter left. And as far as Harrison was saying he acts like Tomlin gave him Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't earn it. That's crazy. I think a lot of that with Harrison might have been sour grapes with Porter, because Porter got let go and he would sign with Miami, and Harrison took over for Porter, and that's when Harrison got Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, I just don't get it, And Harrison was up there and said, "You say we broke the code. You broke the code talking about your teammates." So I don't know, guys. And I know a lot of people would be, Ben does a podcast that he releases every Tuesday. And a lot of people were waiting for a response from Ben on that. And Ben took the high road and said, he just talked about personal growth. He had grown as a person. And Ben has grown as a person. He's a born again Christian. He's a family man. And I think Ben grew as a person as the years went on. He was immature when he first started. And just like Harrison said, his first 2 seasons in the NFL, the first season he was 15-1, went to the AFC Championship game. The next year they won a Super Bowl. Yeah, that'll stroke your ego a little bit. But he matured as years went by, and he became a better teammate. Porter wouldn't know that. Porter was an assistant coach under Tomlin. He never played under Tomlin. So he wouldn't know a lot of the situation there. So I don't know. I think it's going to die down. But it's interesting that Porter, I just don't know where he comes from. Porter's always been an outspoken guy. And that's fine. I mean, I remember Kyle was telling him during the playoffs when they made the Super Bowl run in 2005, don't give them any bulletin board material. And what did he do? Both games, the Colts game, the divisional playoff game, he talked trash about the Colts. And then going into the Super Bowl, he talked trash about Jeremy Stevens, the tight end from the Seahawks, giving the other team bulletin board material. And that's something as a coach I'd never liked. I never liked for anybody to give another team a reason to get more motivated to play us. So hopefully it's over with. I mean, because you don't like to see that. And people were there's other Steelers players that have come out in defense of Ben, and there's other players that have come out and sided with Porter. But this ain't a playground. This ain't where you choose sides and y'all meet in the playground. This is grown-up people acting like kids. So, but that's what everybody wants to see. And piggybacking off that, one of my topics from last week, talking about glorifying fights and incidents in the sports world. We talked about they were glorifying rushing to court, that whole Duke deal with Shire saying somebody punched one of the assistant coaches, which they've come out and said there's no video evidence of any Duke assistant coach getting. And I mean, what's going to be said to Shire about that? Nothing. No, nothing. It happened again last Saturday, I believe. Was it Vanderbilt and somebody played, and it was a hard foul. It was on, I can't remember which team it was, but here comes a fight. And that's all over social media. That's all over ESPN. Because they glorified it, guys. For 2 days, you saw that. You saw the clips of them fighting for 2 days. I could care less. When I saw it, that's it. It's over. I don't care about it again. They got kicked out of the game. They were stupid enough to get in a fight and get kicked out of the game. They hurt their teammates. I don't blame the guy that got fouled. He was taking up for himself in it because it was a hard foul. Guy was not going for ball at all. But it got glorified so much. And now, I mean, that's what sells ratings, I guess, guys. It's not about the game. It's not about the sport. It's about what happens. The incidents. Like Daytona. NASCAR. Unless you're a big fan, like a really, really big fan of NASCAR, if you're a casual fan of NASCAR, you're waiting for the end of the race, or you're waiting for the big wreck. And that's what happened at Daytona. Good segue. Daytona 500 this past weekend. I'll tell you what I did at work. This past year, I got a free trial membership for 3 months for Sirius Radio. I've always wanted to try Sirius Radio, and I did it during football season. And while I was at work, I listened to the games. And I thought about dropping it, but I said it's $9. I'll be able to listen to stuff at work. And all morning, I listened to the NASCAR pre-race coverage. And I listened to the race till I got home. And, I'll tell you, I used to be a diehard NASCAR fan. When you had the Jeff Gordons, the Dale Earnhardt, junior and senior. Um, and who else was that? Jimmy Johnson. But then NASCAR forgot where it came from. They started, well, we're gonna close these southern tracks down, and we're gonna start doing more races out west, up north. Um, I need to be working. Ha 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 ha! Very funny. Actually, John Michael will be on the show. We're gonna have two shows next week. Before I get off track, we have two final scores next week, guys. John Michael on Monday night at 7:30. Excuse me, will be there. He's going to give us a little hockey talk. He's a big hockey fan, big Hurricanes fan, and he's going to talk about the second half of the season, his outlook for the second half of the season. It'll be coming off the Olympics and start the second half of the season. We'll get with John. Uh, I'm not that much of a hockey fan. I watch it sometimes. I watch it during the playoffs. But John has been wanting to come up here for a while to talk some hockey. So we'll do that. If you're a hockey fan, get ready. He likes to talk hockey, and we're going to give him that chance. And Tuesday night we will have a very special guest. It'll be I've been wanting to do interviews with more local people, local sports guys, and I'm working on some stuff. But Tuesday night, 8:00, Troy Smith Jr., who was the softball coach for Northeast Academy, where I went to school at, and led them to, I don't even know how many. We'll have to talk about that when we get on. It was, I don't know, I know it's at least four out of 10 years, and maybe more. I'm sorry if I'm wrong there to Troy and the girls. 4 out of 10 years, at least, that they won a state championship, maybe 5. But Troy's going to be on. We're going to talk about that. We're going into baseball and softball season for the high schools in the area, and a good time to get Troy on. So I'm looking forward to that. Troy was also my JV basketball coach my 9th grade year, and I will talk about this with him. I come into that 9th grade year, and it's my first year playing basketball, and I start from day one. But he showed a lot of confidence in me, a lot of confidence in somebody that hadn't started. Thanks for the like, John. But one of the worst things I ever heard a coach tell, to this day, heard a coach tell me, we were good. We were really good that year. We finished second in our conference and the team that we finished second to was, they had a lot of guys on that team. Michael Morris, what's up? NASCAR is awesome. That's your sport. Yeah, Michael is me and Michael used to work together at a grocery store called Birds. I've known Michael for a long time. Appreciate you joining in, Mike. I'll get back to that once I finish talking about this. We'll get back to NASCAR. But Troy told me we were playing a team in the first round of the tournament that we killed twice during the what did you just say? You just said nothing, John Michael. Thanks. And they were hanging with us the first half. We came out cocky. We came out like all we had to do was show up and we were going to win. And we were just, well, he was talking trash to everybody. He was going right down the road with the starters. And I knew I had made a terrible pass. And he called me on it. He said, Stevie, my 3-year-old daughter could have made a better pass than that pass you made earlier. I was like, holy crap. So, yeah, I will talk about it with Troy. We'll talk about some other stuff there. But getting back to NASCAR, that was my time. When they forgot where they came from, I stopped watching as much. I mean, I would watch. The only times in the last few years that I watched was going to eat dinner on Sunday nights with my mom and my dad. My dad would watch it, and I would watch it with him, and I would give him a hard time about it because he was a Chase Elliott fan, and I'm a Chase Elliott fan now because of that. That's what I was hoping Chase Elliott was going to pull it out the other night. But Tyler Reddick wins the Daytona 500 in a car owned by Michael Jordan, the 2311 team with Denny Hamlin. And I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan, guys. I'm sorry. But, Tyler Reddick, good story. He had a rough year last year, didn't win anything last year, was going through a tough time with his infant son who was found to have a tumor in his chest that affected his heart. Last year, he was the runner-up at Daytona. So he'd been close. But the end of the race, and one of the things I'm hearing, I do listen to Dale Jr.'s podcast. I enjoy it. If you haven't listened to Dale Jr.'s podcast and you want to be a NASCAR fan, or you are a NASCAR fan, and if you're a NASCAR fan, I can't imagine you haven't listened to Dale Jr.'s podcast. Because I enjoy listening to Dale talk. And one of the things he said about that race, and I've heard it from a friend of mine who was at the race, the gas saving, the trying to save your fuel, especially in a race like Daytona, is not something people want to see. I mean, holding back on your throttle and saving gas, it's not what people want to see. Now, I will give NASCAR this. They actually have a good point system again, but one of the things that they used to do with NASCAR, they gave a point to if you led a lap, you got a point. If you led the most laps in the race, you got a point. They don't do that anymore. They give you one they give you one now for fastest lap. Forget the fastest lap crap. Go back to leading a lap or leading the most laps. That's what you need to do. I'm like you, John Michael. Haven't watched enough of it to pick a new driver. I was a Harvick fan, Mark Martin, Elliott Sadler back in the day. I don't like the stage stuff. I'm with you on that. I still do not like the stage stuff, John. I'd rather it just be a whole race. I know what people are saying. You divide a long race up, but I mean, I love the long races. Fine with me. But they still do the stage thing. And Junior was talking about that today, about how NASCAR needs to get back to some of that stuff that, and it's just the end of that race may get me back watching NASCAR again. I'll probably watch Atlanta this week, because the end of that race, when you had just crazy stuff at the end. And maybe I'm being a hypocrite because I didn't like the wrecks. This is where I'm going at when you say crazy stuff at the end. I didn't like the wrecks, but the excitement of the last 4 laps, when people, I don't know how many, they had 23 different lead changes in that race. I think that was a record for that race. But seeing who's going to win, because Elliott Sadler, after a wreck, and I'll give NASCAR credit. I thought for sure NASCAR, when that first wreck happened on that last lap, halfway through the last lap, I thought they were going to throw the caution. Thank you, Anthony. Anthony, appreciate it. He will be Anthony Skinner from the Hooked on Sonics podcast. He will be on the show soon. They didn't throw the caution right when that wreck happened. I thought they did right. They just let it play through. At the end, Elliott Sadler lucks into first place, but he was a sitting duck. And Tyler Reddick gets the win. There's a mad crash behind him. Elliott Sadler was involved in that crash. But man, just to see that the excitement of that last lap, and a lot of people feel that way about it. I would, I've heard a lot of people say I'd rather watch the last lap. And here I am talking about it. I'm looking at some of the headlines here. Hamlin wants to increase speed to improve racing at Daytona 500. I mean, yeah, you want speed. You remember when Bill Elliott qualified at over 200 miles an hour? 212, I think, was what Bill Elliott did. John Michael, short tracks I do watch when they race them because they are eventful starfish. You know, I'm the exact opposite. I don't like short tracks. I don't like short tracks. I've never have. I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but I think one that's interesting, John. I don't know if you've watched it. Is when they race the streets of Chicago. Where I think both of those races they've done in Chicago, where they race the street, the cars had to have windshield wipers on because it was raining. And that was interesting to watch. And NASCAR has come up with some cool stuff to do with stuff like that. But who knows? I'm going to watch Atlanta. I'll tell you this because I haven't had the excitement or looking forward to watching a race in a while. But I do feel that way about going into Atlanta, and I probably will watch it Sunday. We'll see. Maybe we'll be we'll do a watch along here. Um, looking at I like that. I like that Chicago race though. That street race. I don't like that they moved the Brickyard to like a short track though. I don't know if they still do that or not. So looking at and a lot of these guys I don't even know guys. So I'm getting into some of these younger guys. I don't know. Of course, Tyler Reddick gets the win, and I like that. Another thing I like too now, guys, is that you can actually because I used to do it when I was a fan. When I was a big fan, I would check the points. I'm like, okay, he's got this. He's sitting here. He's sitting here in points. And now they've got that again where you check the points. Um, Tyler Reddick finished first. Ricky Stenhouse finished second. Joey Logano third. Chase Elliott, we talked about fourth. Brad Keselowski fifth. Zane Smith, don't have a clue, guys. Sixth. Chris Buescher, no. Riley Herbst. Josh Berry. Bubba Wallace at 10th. Noah, and I'm going to name some of these. Who are these guys? I know Kyle Busch. Kyle Larson, he finished 16th. What was the guy? Ross Chastain. I remember hearing his name. Ty Gibbs, of course, he's Joe Gibbs. I think that's his grandson. Jimmy Johnson still racing. Austin Dillon. Shane Van Gisbergen. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of young guys out there that I'll have to get used to. But who knows? Maybe this will be my bridge between off season of football till we get to football season. John Michael, I will say fantasy NASCAR was a hard sport I've ever tried to play fantasy. I did it one year. And I'm like you, John. I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. But let me take a John Michael. We need some more Powerades. Peach Pucker. Powerade, if you're watching, you need to be sponsoring me. I drink these all the time. John Michael knows I probably buy the majority of the Powerades at the Rich Square Market. Especially the exercise. I probably buy the majority of those. So if you can get some more peach, they also have green apple too. I like those too. But so Daytona, official drink of the final score. Exactly right. Powerade. Get your Powerade on while you're watching the final score. Hold on, guys. My daughter is not feeling well tonight. And she just texted me. Sorry. But she comes first. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if Atlanta. That's going to be the thing. Will Atlanta be a race that'll hold my interest in NASCAR for the rest of the year? We'll see. We'll see. Um. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about. We talked about Carolina and Duke. Carolina gets the big win over Duke. And last night, Carolina played NC State on NC State's home court. Well, let me see here. I'm trying to pull up this so I won't get this wrong. Caleb Wilson, of course, hurt his hand, fractured his hand against Miami? So he was out the Pitt game, and the big dude, I can't even remember the big dude. What's his name? John, if you're out there, the big dude that's out. Oh, jeez. Starts with a V. I'm looking now. Just Visar, Henry Visars. He's out. So your top two scorers are out. 40% of your scoring is out. And I know, and I'm just like this too. Injuries are a part of the game. You have to adjust. You do have to adjust. But when you lose 40% of your scoring, that's a big chunk. That's a big chunk. And NC State took advantage of that. Fine. I didn't expect anything different. The NC State demolishes Carolina 82 to 58. So one of the players from NC State after the game, Quadir Copeland, he was talking a little trash before the game at midcourt to some of the Carolina players. That's fine. That's part of the game. But after the game, tells Caleb Wilson, lace up next time. And that's great that you won, State players, State fans. That's fine. That's fine. You won. You did. You demolished Carolina. But you think it would have been the same way if those two guys wouldn't have been playing? I don't think so. So what you've done now, I mean, you told a guy that's fractured his hand, that's out indefinitely, you should have laced up. Lace up. I just told him to lace up next time. So he said, Wilson, this is coming from Tar Heel 24/7. Wilson was in street clothes on Tuesday, sidelined for the second consecutive game with a fracture in his left hand. He's out indefinitely. That excuse was not good enough for Copeland, who shared words with Wilson in the handshake line after the game. I just told him to lace up next time. That's funny. It's funny that you can say that kind of crap when you know the guy can't play. But guess what? There's going to be another game. There's going to be a time, and you I don't know if Caleb Wilson will be back next year or not. I kind of doubt it. With this injury, I don't know, but I don't think that injury will affect his draft status or his ceiling because he's got such a high ceiling for the NBA. So I'm just amazed that somebody would do that. No, I really shouldn't be. Yeah, Steak, congratulations. Get your little belt out and everything. Congratulations. And like I said, I know a win's a win. Next man up. When somebody gets hurt, next man up, that's fine. But let's see what happens when they're full strength. When you got all your guys there. It won't be that way. I promise you, it wouldn't be that way. So, let's see. One more thing we want to talk about before we get out of here tonight. Tomorrow night, I don't know if you guys ever have. I've got 3 podcasts I'm on. I'm on the Final Score. I've got my On the Fly. And also, I'm on the Sports Objective, which is an ECU sports podcast I do with, 4 other guys. Kyle from LaGrange Barber, Dave Richmond, Johnny Stats, and Matt Semenza, the former ECU linebacker. So tomorrow night, we will be meeting up. 4 of us will be meeting up. All but Semenza. Semenza lives in Connecticut. He's one of those from the north. He's got money. He is the king of Balsam Hill Christmas trees, the CEO. He couldn't take his private jet to be down here with us because he was too busy getting the Christmas tree planted for next year. I know they're artificial trees. We give them a hard time about this crap, but we will be at Weldon Mills Theater tomorrow night watching Blackberry Smoke concert tomorrow night at Weldon Mills. So if anybody out there is going to be there, look us up, guys. Check us out. We'll be there. We'll be happy to talk to you. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't really been a big, huge Blackberry Smoke fan, but they've got some good songs, and I'm looking forward to the hang. This will be the first time that a lot of us. I know I've hung out with Kyle, hung out with Dave, never hung out with JR before. Johnny Stats, and Johnny Stats is going to be on this show, the Final Score, in the coming months as well. But yeah, looking forward to getting to hang out with them. Actually, I think they're doing a podcast right now. I don't do much with the baseball. I usually do like the football. I don't do much with the baseball part of it. I come on there every once in a while. But excuse me. Yeah, looking forward to tomorrow night. So, like I said, if you're at Weldon Mills Theater tomorrow night, look for me there and get a picture. I want to get a picture with everybody. I want be sure because I will be covering that for On the Fly. We'll be talking about that. That may be an episode that comes up next week on the finals on the Fly. Excuse me. But next week, like I said, we've got 2 episodes. John Michael, who has been in here tonight, he's been commenting. He'll be doing an episode. We'll talk about some current stuff, and then we'll let John Michael talk about his outlook for the second half of the NHL hockey season after the Olympics. And then, like I said, Tuesday night, Troy Smith Jr., legendary former Northeast Academy softball coach, will be in here talking about his time as a coach at Northeast of the softball team. And we'll have to bring up some stories about his time as my coach during basketball, 1988. So we're coming up on almost 40 years ago, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. I still can remember. I mean, like I said, he put a lot of faith in me for a guy that hadn't played. I could play defense pretty well, but I wasn't much of a scorer. We had scorers on that team. I didn't have to do like the score, but I did enjoy playing defense. And we're playing the best team in the conference. And I remember he tells me right before we go out, we're in the locker room right before the game. He said, "You're covering the best player." And I'm like, "Oh my God." So yeah, that but I enjoyed that year I had with Troy. Troy's been a good friend over the years. He's the owner of TD Sports, which is turned into a big time T-shirt, sports apparel, sports supply uh, business that he's done so well with right out of his backyard. But we'll do that next Tuesday night at 8 with Troy. Um, I've got some stuff I'm working on, guys. I actually just right before we went on the show, I just set up a possible interview with a uh, wasn't a big star in the 90s, but kind of one of those that came and went. They were there. I mean, they were there enough. Actually, I just watched a clip of them this afternoon when they were on Entertainment Tonight. And when I was talking to him about that, right before we went on the air tonight, I was messaging back and forth, and I told him that, and he knew it. It said 1991. I was like, "Yep." He said, "Funny how I can remember that." I said, "Well, that was huge for you, guy. I mean, not many people get to be on Entertainment Tonight, especially when he was a young guy then too. I mean, really young. So hopefully we'll get that on the show. I don't want to say anything until I know for sure that he's coming on, but he has agreed to do it. So take him for his word. Um. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the final score tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you to John Michael. Thank you to Michael Morris. Good to see you in here, bud. You need to be in here more often. Thank you to Bubba Bubba for the like. Bubba Bubba. Hubba Bubba Bubba Bubba. Andy Skinner, Dave Richmond, thank y'all for the likes. And thank you guys out there for watching. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Final Score and On the Fly. And give me a friend request on Facebook under Stevie Fly. And it's FLYTHE. You'll see it. That I've incorporated all the podcast stuff into that. And we also have the Final Score and the On the Fly Facebook groups that you can join. Check those out. And be sure if you, wherever, Courtney Vaughn Jones, thank you. Crayon Head. She will, I hope you remember that my daughter called you that. But be sure to if you stream your podcast, like you listen to it, you don't want to see this ugly mug. You rather listen to the audio, wherever it is, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast at. Be sure to give us a 5-star review. Yes, you do remember, don't you? Congratulations on your baby. I know you look at that picture right there, guys. It could be. That's a happy baby right there. That's a happy mama too. Congratulations on that, Courtney. I know you're a happy lady, and I know you're a good mama. So thanks guys so much for watching. Greg Acree, gosh, no, I hate to say thank you to you, but anyway. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. You got it. Definitely. Hey. Looking in the mirror again. Look at if you want to talk about ugly, look at the picture in that NHS card collectibles show thing. Good gosh. I know she is sweet. Yeah, you can tell that by looking at the picture. And I know she's already got you guys wrapped around your finger. I remember when my daughter was that age, it didn't take as soon as I saw her, I was wrapped around her. You know, she had me wrapped. And they grow up quick, so enjoy it while you can. But if I keep talking, snap into a Slim Jim. Yeah, I see you snapping in a Slim Jim. I'll see you at Rage Wrestling. We're going to set up cameraman versus ring announcer. That's going to be the next big feud in Rage Wrestling. Anyway, guys, if I keep talking, okay. When are we going to talk wrestling again? We will talk wrestling again. It's coming up. We are working on something right now. Uh, it's going to be a if I can get the concept down right, we're going to work on it. Me and a friend of mine are talking. And actually, the first of next month, March the 5th, which is a Thursday night, we will have a wrestling episode on the fly. So you make sure to mark on your calendar. I'll have some special guests for that show as well. Guys, if I keep talking and you guys keep giving me the likes, I'll keep saying I'm getting ready to leave as long as you people keep giving me the likes up here. Because ever since I said it, I've had like 3 come right in a row. So, but I definitely appreciate it, guys. You don't know how much I do. This helps a lot. Uh, if you subscribe, if you give me that 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcast, it helps a lot. Get me out there, and it'll help me get more viewers. It'll help me get more interviews with people out there. When they see that, they say, okay, well, he's got this. They'll agree to come on the show. And I haven't had a lot of guests here lately. I need to work on that. But anyway, you guys, it is 8:30 now. So I've been on here an hour. You've looked at this ugly mug long enough. And we will see you next week. Like I said, 2 shows next week, Monday and Tuesday night. And we'll probably have another show on the fly. We'll have a show next week too, talking about the Blackberry Smoke concert. So you guys have a great week. Temperature to one. Look, hey, I'm going for 750, guys. I'm over 650, going for 750 on my running, on my miles. I've got till April 1st to see how far I can get. So, I need you guys' support. So send me your songs on Facebook, your songs that you think you listen to when you work out or when you run or whatever. Some songs you think that I might like, and I'll add it to my going for 750 playlist. So anyway, guys, that's it. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next week on the Final Score.